Refuah Shlema for Rachman ben Esther. Okay, sure, sure. Here, good
Exactly.
news. Sirs Teves.
Amen.
Oh, so the Gemara that we're learning is Daf Yud Beis Amud Beis. We're on page 12b, and we're learning about Gemaras that deal with accepting a fast, but then a person might want to or might need to switch the day, but he already accepted the fast. And um, logically, you would think, well, it's too late. You accepted it, you're stuck. But the Gemara seems to be much more lenient, actually, than I would have thought. And the Gemara seems to say, well, if you're not able to fast, the Gemara's implication is it sounds like maybe you have a health issue with fasting. But the commentaries also talk about other issues, like, for example, let's say the important person came to the community and they're giving they're having a grand breakfast to have this special person speak or something. You're invited to an event with this important person. So that would also be maybe a reason why you could break your fast. So the commentaries, of course, debate about these things, but there are opinions that would say that it's permissible to the extent that one of the opinions holds that even if you don't have a good reason, that's also fine. You're able to switch it. Now, the Gemara does have two versions. In the Gemara itself, it says Ikadami, and this is not surprising. Very often the Gemara, when it repeats the Gemara is it's a transcript from discussions that happened. So sometimes there were two versions of how the conversation went, and that's what we find here, where one of the Rabbi Yehuda Amarav had said he had mentioned that. The first version was that Rabbi Yehuda Amarav said that a person could borrow his fast day and pay it up. Interestingly enough, he doesn't say if the person is sick. He doesn't say if he has a reason. He just says if you want, you could borrow your fast day from, let's say you were supposed to fast today, Tuesday, and say, you know what, I'll pay it up tomorrow. I'm borrowing it for another day. I'm pushing it off a day. So you're allowed to borrow it and pay it back on a different day. That's what Rabbi Yehuda Rav says. He doesn't say reasons or anything. Now, when he said it in front of Shmuel, so the first version has it that Shmuel says you got to pay it up. This is considered a full-fledged vow. This is a neder. You have to pay it up. He accepted on himself to pain himself. If he's able to pain himself, he does. If not, he doesn't. So the common understanding of this statement is that Shmuel holds you don't even have to pay it up. You don't pay it back. You were supposed to fast today. It didn't work out for you. You're exempt. You're not gonna pay it back. You tried to fast today. I must say I'm a little surprised about this opinion. It just seems very lenient. And I can't say I fully understand this view, but this is the statement that he says. Is it a real neder? It's a acceptance to do a mitzvah. I guess maybe the way to understand it is, let's say you commit to learn. I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm thinking of comparing it to a case where in certain communities they learn Mishnayos for someone who passed away, and they try to divide up the Mishnayos. So each person tries to take a tractate, and let's say at the end of the shloshim, the end of the 30 days after the person uh, was buried or passed away, or the end of the year, maybe when the person passed away. So sometimes they do it for the year. They try to finish the entire Mishnayos. Very special thing, a nice thing to study the whole Mishnayos in memory of this person. And obviously, it'll benefit his neshama in heaven if they learn Mishnayos. Mishnah is the same letters as neshama, which means soul. So it has a very special connection. So what happens if you accept to take on a Mishnah, a tractate, and then you don't do it? If you didn't do it, it happens. You got busy and you didn't do it. So would you be obligated to try to finish it up maybe afterwards? You didn't do it. Okay, so fine. You didn't do it in time for the shloshim, for the 30-day limit. You didn't do it in time for the year, the yard site, but maybe you should do it afterwards. This is a similar idea because it's not really a regular vow. It's a commitment. It's a neder ledvar mitzvah. You're accepting on yourself. You have made a resolution to do something nice. So would you be obligated in paying it up? I mean, this is a very practical question. My assumption always was that you have to, you missed out in what you committed to finish it by a certain day, but at least you should try to make it up afterwards. But what I'm seeing and thinking maybe now is that Shmuel, according to this version of the Gemara, maybe Shmuel argues on that and would say, well, you tried to do the Mishnayos, and maybe you're not obligated in paying it up. This is what I'm seeing here. Again, my initial thought would have been you for sure have to fast a different day.
Rabbi?
But it seems that Shmuel has a leniency here. Yes, Moshe.
If there's a group of people that you're making a neder with, making a commitment to, it's a neder. That's a vow. I mean, if it's only by himself, but.
So the reason why I think it's not considered the typical vow, again, if you look at the wording in Shmuel's statement, this is the wording. Listen to this. Did he accept a vow on himself? So it's sort of saying very outright that this is not a vow. Think of those words. V'chi neder kibalale. Did he accept a vow? That it's not enough if he doesn't pay it up? Is this really a vow? So it sounds like Shmuel is pretty, saying that in a sarcastic way, like this is not a vow. This is not considered. So what is it? It's a commitment, but it doesn't have the category of a neder. And I think because it's called the neder lidvar mitzvah. It's a type of, we call it the term a neder, but it's not the typical neder. Neder really, the regular neder is where you use a word that prohibits something upon yourself. When you say I'm going to do something, you're not prohibiting something, or I'm not going to do. If you talk about yourself, it's already not a regular. It's not a neder. It's more called a shavua, but we call it a neder lidvar mitzvah. So it seems to fall into a different category. These type of cases where you accept to learn some tractate or you accept to fast. You're committing to do something, but it doesn't fall into the category of the neder and shavua. It seems to fall into a different category, and that's why he uses this term. Now, this is the first version of the Gemara. Yes, Reuben.
Is it almost like I'll try?
Well, it sounds like it's more than I'll try, but you're right. He does seem to be quite lenient, and it's almost like if I can, if I can, I guess you got to be careful if you get someone to agree to something and then he just backs out very simply. Oh well, I try. Commitments aren't commitments. Tomorrow, I told you I'd pay you back, but I was just meant I try to pay you back. I'm not paying.
Exactly.
I borrowed $1,000 from you, but yeah, I tried to pay you. I told you I'd pay you back by today, but I tried, but it's not happening. So forget it. Got to be careful with money. Huh? But But the thing is that this is not we're talking about a mitzvah type of thing, not a monetary type of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's not a finance. It could involve money, but it's not a monetary.
Tomorrow I'll try to fast.
Right.
I
But
mean,
the wording is not that way. When you say the wording, you don't say try. That's what I'm saying. It sounds like it's more of a commitment.
But that's what you said before. You're doing the vow, or you're taking the vow. But if you say, I'll try to fast tomorrow, then you wake up tomorrow and you don't feel good.
Right.
I tried.
Right. That makes sense. But what it sounds like is a little more than that. You're saying more than I'll try, but still, this is not. It doesn't fall into the category like a vow and a promise and a it doesn't fall into that same category. It falls into a category of a mitzvah, a dvar mitzvah, a commitment to do a certain mitzvah. And if it doesn't work out for you, you're not going to do it. You know what I mean? You were supposed to take if you agreed to help out with carpool one day, and then something comes up and you can't. What are you going to say? Oh, I made a vow and I have to bet. No, this was I committed to do it.
But excuse that's legit. Come on.
Yeah, you have to. You needed to back out. So that's what it sounds like that Shmuel is saying. Now, Rav doesn't go for this. Rav says you got to pay it up.
Yeah.
You could pay it up afterwards. But Shmuel seems to say, well, you tried to you committed to do this mitzvah and you can't. So anyway, that's the first version. And then the next version of the Gemara was, some say that this is how the interaction, the dialogue went, that Rabbi Yehuda Amarav said a person could borrow the fast and pay it up. And Rabbi Yehuda said, when I said this statement in front of Shmuel, Shmuel said, of course. So he didn't argue. He agreed that you have to pay it up. And this is the second version of the Gemara, that Shmuel agrees with this. You have to pay it up. And that, of course, to us sounds maybe a little more reasonable. You made a commitment. Okay, you're borrowing it from one day, but you are going to pay it up a different day. It's not like you're just backing out. You're going to pay it up. And then when I said in front of Shmuel, he said, Pshita, of course. And here he uses the term. I mean, it shouldn't be the law of a fast is no different than a neder, than a vow. So the first Gemara said, the first version was, is it a neder? This is not a vow. And the second version is, it's no less than a vow. In other words, it is considered like a lo yehei ala neder. It should be like a vow, but what type of a vow? It means a vow of a mitzvah vow. It doesn't mean a regular vow. It means it's at least the same as a neder type of vow where you do a mitzvah. And wouldn't you need to pay up such a vow if you made a commitment? So the same thing here. You pay. So in other words, you'd have to pay it up a different day. Now, the understanding is that if you would make a vow for charity and you needed to borrow that money for whatever reason, you would need to pay it back afterwards. So the same thing would be with this type of a commitment to fast. You would have to pay it up afterwards. The example given is a person says, this coin is going to charity, is till the gabbai of that charity gets it, you could borrow it and exchange it for something else. For example, you have you have $20 bills, and you were supposed to give those $20 to a certain charity. And some poor man comes knocking on your door and you want to give him $1. But the thing is, all you have are these charity dollars. So you give him one of those dollars, and then later you'll give the charity that these charity dollars were meant to go to. You give the guy a 20, even though it's not the same dollar bills. you give him a 20 instead, and send, you could say, or send a check of $20, or Zelle $20 to the charity that these $20 bills were meant for. In the meantime, you have those individual bills that you could use because you needed to use one. So that's the example given that it's acceptable. So according to the second version, everything sounds smooth, at least my understanding of commitments. The first version to me it's surprising that Shmuel would allow you that you wouldn't need to pay it up. But I guess that's maybe I guess the understanding of a neder l'dvar mitzvah is, as Ruvain was saying, that it's sort of like you're trying to do it. If you can't, it's sort of like if it didn't work out, it didn't work out. You tried, and that was good enough. I should also mention that there are commentaries on this Gemara that do learn the first piece of Gemara differently. And those opinions say that the first part of the Gemara, even Shmuel agrees that you do have to pay it back afterwards. And Shmuel doesn't argue even in the first version. So there is such a understanding. I guess my surprise is to learn this way is not, I'm not alone. There are other commentaries that also want to. Let me mute everyone. There are other commentaries that learn the first Gemara that even Shmuel agrees that you would need to pay it up, and it's not enough to just say, well, I tried and whatever. But there are opinions that understand the first part of the Gemara that way. Okay, so these are these two Gemaras. I'm just looking back. I think I skipped one little thing that we said earlier, and that was that there was a discussion here about wearing one's shoes on a communal fast day. And we had Rav Sheshes was very angry when he saw that people were wearing shoes, and he said, are you also eating? Did the people who are those people, because he felt that you should not be indulging in any pleasure on a fast day, even though we consider fast days only for not eating or drinking, but you are allowed to go to work and wear shoes and do other, but he felt that you can't wear shoes and you can't have marital relations and so on. And then the Gemara mentioned the Abaye and Rava that they went on the fast day. They went up to the seemingly the community gathering, and they were wearing a certain type of shoe that was obviously not so comfortable or somehow different than the norm, and either missing the bottom or missing the top. And Merema and Marzutra switched the right foot for the right shoe for the left shoe. And then we said the rabbis of the Beis Medrash of Rav Ashi, they didn't switch anything. They followed Shmuel's view that there is no Taanis tzibor in Bavel. That in Babylon we aren't extra strict. When you fast, it's only fasting from food and drink. It's not from all the other inuyim, the other types of pleasures that you prohibit. And the only time that you fast from those is with Tisha B'Av. So that was the earlier Gemara. Now we went over both little pieces, and we are ready to start the next piece. Okay, so Rabbi Yeshua Berei de Rav Idi. Rabbi Yeshua Berei de Rav Idi. We are by the dot inside in the Gemara. It must be about 25 lines from the top of the page on 12b. And in the art scroll, we are on 12b. 12b. 12b2, 12b2, the second paragraph on the page, 12b2. Rabbi Yeshua, Braid Ravidi, Rabbi Yeshua, the son of Ravidi, Ikla Levei Rav Asi. He happened to visit the house of Rav Asi. Avdule Egla Tilsa. They prepared for him a egel, a calf. Tilsa literally means a third. What is the third? What does this mean? So Egla Tilsa, generally retranslated, it's the third child of its mother. The third child is generally by an animal is considered to be the most tasty, because the first two children are somewhat weaker, and the third child, the mother finally has it, a strong body. She's able to handle the child better, I guess the baby, the little calf, and the calf is going to come out very tasty. So that would be the meaning of Igla Tilsa, the third to its mother, the third child. So in other words, this was a delicacy that they would serve the calf that's a third. Now there are other translations that it's that it means that it's very good meat, so the choicest. That is not. It doesn't have to do with the fact that it's the third. Anyway, these are some of the translations. Now, the Gemara says, Amru lei, so they said to him, Lutamar midi, let Rabbi Yeshua taste something. In other words, have some. Enjoy yourself. Dig in. Amar lei, he said to them, B'tainisi Yosivna. What a bad day for me to come here. You're giving me this the most delicious steak, but guess what? I'm fasting today. The Tanisa Yosivna, I'm sitting in a fast. I am observing a fast. Amrulay, so they said to him, Marvelifra. Guess what? What about Taanis, page 12b? You could skip your fast and fast a different day, right? Good to know. Have a little knowledge. You know some loopholes. He says, go. Let's skip the fast. Go fast a different day, and you can enjoy the steak. So they don't you hold of what Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rav said, that Leiva Adam Tainise Pereya? You could borrow your fast and pay it up on a different day. Listen, you got the special, this special ceremony here where we're honored to have you, and you can enjoy with us. So he says, Leiva Adam Tainise Pereya, go borrow your fast, you pay it up on a different day. Amar lahu, so Rabbi Yeshua said to them, it's a problem. Taanis chaloimhu. I'm in the middle of fasting, a fast for a bad dream. This is a fast for a bad dream. And V'yamar Rabba bar Machasya Chama bar Gurya, Amar Rav, the rabbis, Rabba, the son of Chasya, said the name of Chama, the son of Gurya, the name of Rav. They said that Yafa Taanis l'chaloim, a fast is very effective. It's good for a dream. Ke'esh l'na'uras, it's like a fire to the flax, the linen that's thrown away. That linen, the non-usable little pieces of linen is called na'uras. So it's blown away. The shavings of the flax, of the linen. So what happens with it? If you touch a fire to it, it burns up immediately. It's very flammable. So he says a fast for a bad dream is just like a fire for flax. It burns it up right away. A fast burns up the bad dream. Any negative elements of the dream, the fast has the ability to burn them up. And the Gemara says, Rav Chizda boy bayoim. And Rav Chizda says that specifically, boy bayoim, it specifically you should fast on that day. It should be on that day that the day that you dreamed, you should fast. Now, what that means is that even though normally you're supposed to prepare for a fast, so you didn't accept it like yesterday because you didn't know you were going to have this bad dream. So Rav Chizda says, no, not when it comes to a fasting. But now when it comes to a bad dream. When it comes to a bad dream, grab the opportunity and fast right away. I saw one of the commentaries says that it's like in heaven they accepted it for you already. It's like it was already prepared for you when you had the bad dream. That was preparing you. It was like an acceptance, so to speak, for the fast day. But whatever it is, this is a situation where the simple understanding is this is a situation where we don't say you have to prepare for it. It's more important to go fast, and it'll be beneficial. Yes, David.
I don't want to slow you down because it's a minor thing, but on the third born calf, it says, he says it's not that the mother is, it's the third born calf, and therefore the meat is choice because the mother's in better shape or whatever. He says that Rashi says it's based on the Gemara Shabbos 11a, that it's a calf that only reached a third of its potential size, and therefore the calf is the choicest meat. That's what the third is.
Yeah, but there's different interpretations. I'm not disagreeing that there is such a pshat. There's a Rashi that explains it that way, but I translated it the two other interpretations.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
But you're not wrong. I skipped out that interpretation. But anyway, thank you for sharing it. Yes, Mordechai.
Yeah, well, on the subject of the egglets, reminds me in Masechet Megillah, it says that one of the Rabbanim visited another one of the Rabbanim for his Purim Suda, and he said that he had a pot roast that was so delicious that he wanted to lick the plate.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Yeah, it seems like they had some good food then. So the Gemara here continues and says that, so why don't you want to just skip the fast and fast a different day? He says it's a Taanis chalaim, it's a dream, and for a dream you got to fast this day. Who says you have to fast this day? It's Rav Chizda, even though it really contradicts a lot of things we learned before about how important it is to prepare for a fast, and you have to accept it on yourself. It doesn't apply to a dream, a fast of a dream. Now, Rav Yosef adds another point. This is really shocking. Rav Yosef, afilu b'Shabbos. Even on Shabbos, you should fast. Shabbos, you're not allowed to fast. The normal circumstances, there's prohibitions. It's supposed to have oineg, supposed to have pleasure on Shabbos. And but if you had a bad dream, you're supposed to fast even on Shabbos. My takante, so the Gemara says, so how do you fix up sinning like this? You're going to end up sinning. You're going to, by fasting, you're doing a sin on Shabbos. You're not allowed to fast, but you need to fast because it's a Taanis chaloim. So how do you atone for that? How do you rectify such a sin? So the Gemara answers, Leisiv Tainisa l'Tainisa. Sit and fast for the fast. Meaning accept on yourself a different fast. And the understanding here is that you would fast on the day afterwards. You would fast on Sunday for the fast that you did on Shabbos. That's the idea. At least some of the commentaries mention that. Not everyone. There are other commentaries that disagree with that. But some of the commentaries mention that implication here is that you should fast as soon as you can, and that would be right. You would fast right away for the fast, meaning even on you would fast on Sunday for the fast that you did on Shabbos. Yes, Ben.
Yeah, I thought that that's what we learned before, that if you need to fast on Shabbos, it's a sin, and then you fast again for that.
Right.
So you
What
fast
you eat in
twice.
between.
You would eat at night.
Oh, not. Okay. Bless you.
Thank you.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
this happened to me once where it was about 30 years ago before my son Menachem was born. When my wife was pregnant, and I had a dream that the dream was that the Rebbe came and said to me, if you have a girl, you'll name the girl after your mother, which was very troubling because my mother was still alive. She's still alive now. Can I know her? So I had to go to Rabbi Shachet and in the Shabbos morning, and I said to him, "Is in Toronto, Rabbi David Shachet," and I told him the dream. So he interpreted it to mean, he said, "You'll name me after your mother. You name me after the Rebbe's mother, because she's the mother of us all. This way you don't have to fast."
Very good, very good. Yeah, I was going to bring the commentaries talk about this whole concept of fasting for a bad dream, and I wanted to bring up a little discussion about that from the what's brought in the rabbinic authorities and the halachic rulings. So they bring down here that the law of a fast on Shabbos and fasting nowadays in general, that if a person sees a bad dream, so we learned in the Gemara that it's appropriate to fast, and even on Shabbos. And the question is, does it apply nowadays? Now, one of the opinions is that nowadays we don't know what's considered a good dream and what's considered a bad dream. So because of that, we don't have to fast. You don't fast if you're not sure. You know, we don't really know what's a good dream, what's a bad dream. And he brings from another sefer that there was a big Rav that they would ask him, when they would ask him if they should fast on Shabbos for a bad dream, he would tell them, no, better you should celebrate Shabbos with eating and drinking, and just make sure not to waste your words on Shabbos, because you shouldn't speak with anyone, because with words you could cause sin. But you know, it'd be hard to control yourself. But read the entire book of Tehillim. I thought this was really interesting. Read the entire book of Tehillim. This is from the Kaf HaChaim, brought from a sefer called Agodas Eliyahu. He says, read the entire book of Tehillim from the beginning to the end. And during the week, if you want, you should fast. You could fast a Taanis for your dream, and also give tzedakah according to your ability. So that was the way this opinion followed. Again, it's different than our Gemara, because what they're saying is that in our Gemara, we knew what the Gemara was in a time when a bad dream was very clear. Here, everything is cloudy. So this was his view. The Chida said that he knows about a great person that was not makbid, was not careful about dreams. In other words, didn't make a big deal. And he saw once a Talmud Chacham that many of his Shabbosim he would fast on Shabbos, because he was always having these bad dreams. So this great person told this man who would fast on Shabbos, this other scholar who would fast every Shabbos, that you should stop fasting. And when he stopped fasting, he stopped having bad dreams. And they also bring that even in a weekday, there's opinions that you don't need to fast for a bad dream. Aruch HaShulchan brings from the Rivash that if a person isn't worried about the dream, or he's more pained from the food than the dream, in other words, from fasting, then he's not allowed to even fast on Shabbos, because for him, it's not a pleasure to fast on Shabbos. It's painful to fast on Shabbos. And even in the weekday, it's not a mitzvah for him to fast. And he writes there, continues, and he writes that if a person thought about during the day a dream, or he went to sleep with a full stomach, these are automatic causes to have bad dreams. So this bad dream has no value. It doesn't mean anything, because that's what these things naturally cause bad dreams. Going to sleep on a full stomach or thinking about dreams when you during the day, that causes you to have bad dreams. And he says, he concludes that it's customary nowadays that you're supposed to go to a chacham, a scholar in your city, to interpret your dream, and he'll interpret it for good. And the person should not be accustomed to have these type of dreams. And he brings that if a person who's not on a holy level, and he doesn't separate himself from pleasures, and on days that you say tachlan, so his dreams are meaningless, and you shouldn't consider them significant, which basically means that the whole concept of a bad dream is that it's sort of like telling you from heaven you need to fast for tshuva. And if it's not, if it's not a message from heaven, then it's not considered a bad dream. That you're, in other words, it's only someone who deserves to have this message given to him from heaven that would fast for a bad dream. So that's sort of like gives us a general understanding of this concept of a bad dream. That the whole concept is that you're on a level where they're giving you a message from heaven. It's sort of like they're sending you a message. You're lucky you have some connections. They're sending you from heaven that you should fast today because you're on such a level. Therefore, you fast and you will wipe away whatever was negative thing was meant. But if you're not on that level, then it's not a message from heaven, and you don't have to fast. So these are different opinions. Again, not everything was agreed upon by all of these different opinions, but the concept, the general concept, it gives us a little different perspective than you get from just simply reading the Gemara. That there seems to be something deeper here. That it has to be a certain type of a bad dream that is giving you a message. Yes, Ben.
Yeah, but I wanted to say what you discussed now, the last.
That's why I didn't let you speak. Otherwise, you would have taken away everything
right.
I was going to say.
I wanted to say there is no bad. We learned that there is no bad dream. It's all in the translation or what you think about it, or how you. So the minute you wake up, you should think positive, find a positive way to explain the dream, and then you don't have to fast.
Yeah, so that's a very good advice, and in general, it sounds that's great. But there is this other element that you're sort of skipping out, and that is that if they're trying to send you a message from heaven that you should fast, do tshuva, and cleanse yourself from indulging, separate yourself a little from the typical indulging and do some tshuva. So if you just follow your trick of interpreting the dream good, it works. It works.
I think,
but it's not fixing it's not fixing the essence of the problem. So if it's just a bad dream, so then get someone to translate. If it's just a bad dream, fine. Then you want to just correct it. But if there's a disease that's that's there, that's hidden there, you want to fix that, and that would be with fasting. So I'm just saying that would be the
But I think
point.
I think that the dream is usually what you were thinking before you fell asleep. About
so that type of dream
before you fell asleep.
Right.
So if you make it a habit to think of good things before you go to sleep, it will eliminate the problem altogether.
Again, that all works if these are just insignificant dreams. And if you interpret it good, you're all set. You know what I mean? But if they're significant dreams that you're getting a message, you're on a holy level, and they're sending you a message from heaven.
Yeah.
So then whatever you think about by night, or you think about, but the main thing, the point is they might be sending you a message.
Yeah.
If they're sending you a message, then you might want to follow a different additional path of tshuva, or do the tehillim, like it says there. Very interesting that he says to recite the entire tehillim Shabbos instead of fasting. Yes, who wanted? David, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think Moshe's trying to say something.
Yeah, but
okay. Yeah. So okay. His microphone's not working. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was just going to tell the end part of this dream where the Rebbe told us if you have a girl, you should name it after the Rebbe's mother, which is Chana. So we had a boy and we named him Menachem. And 30 years later, he got married and his wife's name is Chana.
Goya, yes. Great story. Yes, Moshe, try to speak. Moshe, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Moshe, sorry, we can't. For a minute, for 2 words we hear you, and then the next 20 words we can't.
Can you hear me now?
We might be able to hear you now, but not what you're going to say after this.
Just hold.
Hey, I wanted to say that if a person goes to a chacham to get an interpretation of dreams, that person it resolves the issue. But in the case of Yosef with the baker, when they were in prison, the baker died.
Okay.
Understand. Did
he give him a good interpretation or a bad interpretation?
He died.
So the thing is, there's the story is that he gave him the true interpretation. That's the real answer. He gave him the truth. That was what was happening. But it seems like those dreams. What was the purpose of those dreams that Joseph had in prison? It was all about, for Joseph. It was really about Joseph. Both those dreams were mainly for Joseph to get his fame. It was a means of Joseph getting his fame out there. So it wasn't about if something good was going to happen to this one or to that one. It was ultimately just for the if you think about it, that was the ultimate purpose, was for Joseph. Anyway, okay, so we've gone through a little about these dreams. It is a very interesting halacha about being able to fast on Shabbos, even though Shabbos is for various reasons you wouldn't be allowed to fast. One of them is there's a mitzvah to have 3 meals on Shabbos, and which could be considered a biblical commandment. There's also a mitzvah to have oineg on Shabbos. V'karasa l'Shabbos oineg. Shabbos is a mitzvah to have oineg, pleasure. So how do you reconcile that with this concept of fasting on Shabbos? How fit with fasting on Shabbos if you're not if you're not allowed to fast on Shabbos? Now, fasting on Shabbos, seemingly, if you ate it the night before, so there's reason to say that the next day, if you're just fasting the next day, that would only be rabbinic because you did eat. It's not like you fasted the entire Shabbos. So there is such a way of understanding the halacha that, in other words, biblically, you ate the night before.
Did I ask her if she got quotes for any of this?
I can't hear you.
Let me just mute everyone here. So there is such a understanding that if you ate at night, so you don't have a problem of fasting on Shabbos because you did eat the night before, but it would still be a rabbinic obligation to not fast on Shabbos. And it's brought down that if a person has in mind that they're not eating, in other words, you don't eat every minute of Shabbos, but if you don't eat because of fasting, so even a short amount of time would be considered prohibited. In other words, if you decide, you know what, I want to fast this hour, I'm not eating now, pushing it off an hour because I want to fast, that is a problem on Shabbos. Even a short time, if you do it l'shem Taanis, for the purpose of fasting, that's already a problem. So there seems to be a few issues with fasting on Shabbos. One of them is about the 3 meals. So yeah, you ate at night, which is nice, but you still didn't have your 3 meals on Shabbos. And the other thing is the Eineg part, where you're actually fasting and having in mind that you're fasting, you're doing it for the purpose of fasting. That seemingly is a problem on Shabbos. So one thought to answer these problems is that the reason you're fasting on Shabbos is it's a pikuach nefesh. You're sort of like saving your life, because this is a situation, it could be a life and death situation, and you had this bad dream, and you sort of would be allowed to fast on Shabbos because it basically overrides these the prohibition of fasting because of seemingly a level of pikuach nefesh. Now, it's a little stretching it because you wouldn't be allowed to transgress any law of driving on Shabbos or other laws. We're allowing you to fast, but not really, not transgressing other laws. But it's brought down that the reason why you'd be allowed to fast is that for you, fasting is oineg, is pleasure. In other words, you're in a situation where eating for you is painful, and fasting for you, because you're so nervous about this dream, so fasting for you is the pleasure. That's the pleasure of fasting. In other words, that's what's pleasuresome for you. So because of that, you wouldn't be obligated to eat. On the contrary, you need to have eineg. Your eineg is your pleasure is fasting. So that's a little insight into this leniency, so to speak, or this fasting on Shabbos, which seemingly should be prohibited.
That's what I was going to say. That the fasting is an oneg.
It's an oneg. Now, I still think that it's complicated to like how does that fit with the mitzvah of having meals on Shabbos? How do you reconcile that? Yes, Ben.
I wanted to say, if for you it's a pleasure to fast, maybe it won't pay for the problem that you have. You have to find another way to atone.
If it's too
for what you.
It's too pleasuresome. You're getting too much pleasure. You go to the guy who's fasting.
Then Taanis is not the right answer.
You're enjoying your fast.
Taanis is not the right answer for you.
Yeah, so that's a cute line, but I don't think it's a problem, because in essence, he's starving himself, but he's so I don't think he's enjoying it that much. He's still worried about his dream.
If
So he's not
somebody is
enjoying
looking
it.
to lose weight, it helps him. So
Anyway, so what it seems like is that the law of 3 meals on Shabbos is an element of Oineg. In other words, it's a derivative of the mitzvah of pleasure. So for this person, his pleasure is to fast. So maybe that would be the reason why he would be exempt from these 3 meals on Shabbos, because the 3 meals are an outcome of the mitzvah of pleasure, and because his pleasure is not eating, therefore it is doesn't need to be expressed by having these meals. In other words, if you look at the mitzvah of having 3 meals on Shabbos as an entity of its own, then you sort of are stuck here. That on the one hand, we can tell him, yeah, you can fast because of the oineg problem. That's not a problem. But how do you fast because of the 3? What about the 3 meals? But if we tell him, but if we understand that the 3 meals is a derivative of the oineg, the mitzvah of oineg. In other words, they're an offshoot from the mitzvah of pleasure on Shabbos. So if the fasting on Shabbos for him is the pleasure, then maybe that would explain why he would be exempt from the mitzvah of having 3 meals on Shabbos. Again, it deserves to be looked into, but that's just a little thought. Okay, we're going to continue with the next piece of Gemara, which is a Mishnah. The next Mishnah, which is the end of the line on the Gemara, page 12b, the second medium-sized line. If you are in the art scroll, it is 12b2, the bottom half. Mishnah says in large. Avru elu v'lainanu, if these days passed and a person was not answered, and which means that these 3 public fasts, we already spoke about 2 types of fasts. We spoke about a fast that the individuals keep, which means a fast for the scholars. And then we spoke about a fast for the community. And each of those 2 groups were 3 fasts: Monday, Thursday, and Monday. And now this public fast that we just spoke about in the previous Mishnah, if that passed, Avru Elu, these 3 fast days of the public fast, not for just the scholars, but the one for the public, if that passed, V'loinanu, when the people were not answered, meaning there was no rain, Bezdin Geizrin Gimel Tiny Yisach Ala Tzibur, the Bezdin decrees 3 other fasts on the community. So we got the first 3, and those 3 for the individual, for the scholars. Then we had another 3 for the community, and those 3 started during the day. They didn't start at night. You started those during the morning. They started at dawn. Those 3 fasts we spoke about. Then it still hasn't rained. So now we decree another 3 on the community, and these 3 are going to be different. We are allowed to eat and drink while it's still daytime, but the fast is going to start at sunset. Once it gets dark, that's when the fast kicks in. You can eat during the day, but not when it gets night. The other fast that we spoke about before, you could eat at night. The fast starts in the morning, dawn. These fasts are another. Listen, Hashem hasn't answered you. There's no rain, so you're going to start fasting now at night, similar to Tisha B'Av. And asur b'malacha, you can't do work. Uverechitza, and washing oneself. Uvesicha, and anointing oneself, which is done in the olden days. Uvenilas a sandal, wearing shoes, leather shoes. You're not allowed to wear leather shoes. V'tashlamiti, you're not allowed to have marital relations. V'noyelin es hamerchatzois, and they even would lock the bathhouse. Now, what does this mean? So you're not allowed to eat once sunset kicks in. When does night begin? Does night begin at sunset, or does night begin when the stars come out? 3 medium-sized stars. So when 3 stars come out, that's definite night. When sunset happens, it's a doubtful, it's a questionable night. We're not sure when night begins. Now, these fast days are communal fast days established by the who is decreeing these fast days? The rabbis, the Bezdin. They make Bezdin Geizrin. Bezdin makes these decrees to have, we're going to do a fast day, and we're starting it at night. Now, rabbinic laws, generally, you can be lenient on things that are questionable, like we spoke about yesterday. So the question that we should ask is, if it's not definite night, it's sunset, and definite night only kicks in when 3 stars come out. So you get about 20 minutes or 30 minutes in between the sunset and dusk. So it's only rabbinic. Let me be lenient. Let me just start fasting at dusk. Why do we use the term mi'ba'id yoim over here, which sounds like only when it's definite day, that's when you're allowed to eat. But once sunset kicks in, you have to fast. What do you mean? This is a rabbinic law. Let me be lenient. I'll wait till dusk to fast. I'll wait till the stars come out to fast. It's a rabbinic decree. It's a decree from the rabbis that that we're going to fast. So it's going to start at night, but it's not a definite night yet. So this would be seemingly a good option of rabbinic. This would be an example where I should be lenient for rabbinic law. The question is asked by some of the commentaries. They talk about this. And one of the answers given, a very interesting answer, is this leniency that you want to have when the fast comes in is contradicted by a leniency at the end of the fast. When is the fast over? The fast is over at nighttime. Well, what is night? So tomorrow at sunset could be possibly night, or tomorrow at dusk is definite night. So this type of scenario where you want to tell me maybe we should be lenient for rabbinic law will be contradicted tomorrow when we're also going to be lenient for rabbinic law, because today it's going to mean that I could eat from sunset because night doesn't start until dusk, but tomorrow it's going to allow me to eat from sunset and on because I'm going to say sunset is night. So when you have a scenario where it's contradicted, a leniency of the rabbis is going to end up being a double contradiction. It's going to contradict itself from today till tomorrow, because if I want to be lenient in this rabbinic law of fasting, it's going to tell me that dusk, tonight, I'm going to say dusk is when night begins. And therefore, I'm going to eat until dusk. Tomorrow, I'm going to say sunset is when night kicks in, and I'm going to eat right after sunset when the fast is over. So this type of leniency is contradictory, and therefore we don't say that when it comes to rabbinic law we're lenient when it ends up in a contradiction from both ends. So that's the reason why we're strict. We actually have to start fasting from the sunset. Okay, we're going to stop here. Sei gesund, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah, David, did you want to say something?
No, I just want to say thank you and
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah. Oh, Rabbi,
Yes, Robert.
wait a minute. Somebody else is talking.
I was just asking if anybody here knows how to fix a printer. I got a jam.
Oh, a jam. Basically, on the back of the printer, you generally can open it up. And if you open up in the back, you pull out the empty paper.
Tried that.
Work. You tried that already?
This is all from the front.
Turn it out. Turn it off.
Here.
I mean, first of all, pull out the plug. Don't do anything unless you pull out the plug.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think
Good.
that's where you're supposed to open it. by the way, Isaac.
I-
The,
No, it's
under
not.
that.
Yeah, but you can't get in there.
No, but there's two handles that you push together.
Rebbe,
Show me.
come visit. Come
Okay.
visit me.
I'll try to help you.
Okay.
Toilet.
Rabbi,
Yes, Robert.
we'll be able to come on Thursday, both of
Oh,
us.
amazing.
So what time do you want us to be there to help set up?
11:45 would be ideal.
Okay. Okay, good. All right, then we'll see you on Thursday.
Okay, very good. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Oh,
Right,
great.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.